This is going to be the year that Lamar Jackson exercises all of his postseason demons and makes a deep playoff run. Now, we know the dialogue that's been around Lamar Jackson when it comes to the playoffs, that he's such a great player in the regular season. He's a two-time MVP, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but at the end of the day, as a quarterback, you are judged off of what you do in the postseason. Patrick Mahomes, 3 Super Bowls, an unbelievable killer. We know that he is regarded as a top 5 quarterback in the league. You want to look at Josh Allen. We all know how talented he is, but at the end of the day, doesn't have a ton of success in the playoffs because he's run into Mahomes. So I think he has a little bit more of a pass than a guy like Lamar Jackson does. You even look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is the only active quarterback to beat Patrick Mahomes, even though he's not in the postseason this year. And a lot of people are looking at Lamar Jackson as a guy that hasn't been super consistent in the playoffs. And we saw last year they only had 10 points against the Chiefs. And I'm not going to blame Lamar for that fumble on the 3 or 4 yard line from Zay Flowers. If a few different plays go differently, they could potentially win that games. But outside of last year, there aren't a lot of excuses for Lamar and what he's done in the regular season and kind of the fall off that he's had when it's come to the playoffs. And I'm one of the biggest defenders and supporters of Lamar when it comes to people that are on the internet, honestly. Like, I've been a guy that has always defended Lamar, always thought he deserved that big time contract from the Ravens, and that it would have been the most foolish decision in that team's history if they would have let Lamar Jackson walk out the door. And he wins that MVP last year. They have the number 1 overall seed, and Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have to come on the road in M&T Bank Stadium and knock off the Ravens to make the Super Bowl, and that's what happened. And right now, the Ravens are the 3 seed. They're going to have to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they can easily do that. But outside of that, they're going to have to go on the road against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, and then they're going to have to see, most likely, the Kansas City Chiefs. So 2 really tough road games, 2 really tough tests for Lamar Jackson and this Ravens squad. But I feel that this year is going to be a lot different for him, because in the past, we've seen that it's just been Lamar Jackson. He didn't have a ton of weapons when it came down to the postseason a few years ago, but I love Zay Flowers. Now, I know his status is up in the air for this weekend against the Steelers, but I think that Zay Flowers is an unbelievable threat for Lamar on the outside. And Lamar really never had that many weapons on that outside before Zay Flowers walked into the door, and he was only a rookie last year, and he still was so tremendous for this team. And now him being in his second year, taking another step, the production that he's seen, it's been unbelievable, not only for him, but for Lamar Jackson, arguably making a case for his 3rd MVP and back-to-back MVPs. So I think he's going to be massive down the stretch for Lamar when we look at him and what he's going to do in the playoffs. And of course, we know that Derrick Henry has had an unbelievable year, just another closer, another guy that Lamar Jackson can give the ball to. The Ravens never really had a great running back. They never really had a guy that was a bell cow back, a guy that you could give the ball to 20 times that could help Lamar and make plays with, because we know that the Ravens are so great. They're so dominant at the line of scrimmage with that offensive line, that John Harbaugh style of football. And they've done a great job of running the ball with a committee of running backs over the years. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, etc. And now you have a guy like Derrick Henry who can not only take advantage of how great that offensive line is, but he can take advantage of what Lamar Jackson does in the read option game. You know, he can put it in his stomach and then he can take off. It's like, that's how dangerous both of those guys are in the read option game. And that's what I look at with Lamar, not only being there with himself, but finally having another closer to play with down the stretch. I think that's going to be massive, because it really didn't feel like they had a guy that could wear out this Chiefs defense in the playoffs last year, and it was all on Lamar's shoulders. Lamar had to make plays in the passing game, and now he has Derrick, he has Zay Flowers, who's probably going to be healthy for the divisional round if he can't go in the wild card round, but he's going to have both of those guys. We know that Mark Andrews is a phenomenal tight end, but Isaiah Likely has been so great in these double tight end sets that they've been running. So I've just been really impressed with this Ravens offense. It feels like a lot of the players on that team are super disrespected. We see what Saquon is doing at the running back position with Philadelphia, obviously breaking 2,000 yards, but it's like Derrick Henry for his age, his longevity that he's had in the league has been tremendous. And then Lamar Jackson, a guy that not only has this chip on his shoulder and this motivation from all the talking heads, everybody discrediting him because he hasn't showed up in the postseason as much as everybody expects him to, but a lot of people have been taking it too far, in my opinion. He not only has that to fuel him, but he also has potentially losing out on the MVP this year when he has better stats than Josh Allen. So I think that Lamar Jackson's probably going to be the most motivated person when it comes into the playoffs this year. And we know that they're going to face off against the Steelers, this division foe, a team that they've seen so many times. And kind of the dialogue around this game is that the Steelers have really owned Lamar Jackson. We see that Baltimore is a 10-point favorite against them. I just think with this Steelers offense really struggling over the past few weeks, they've lost 4 consecutive games. Now they've got to go on the road against this Ravens team that has been red hot. And it just seems like a really tall task for a team that has been struggling big time down the stretch. So I don't anticipate Baltimore having to really struggle with this game. But I think outside of that, going on the road against Buffalo is going to be a massive test. I think that Lamar Jackson is going to have to prove that he deserved the MVP. He's going to have to outplay Josh Allen. And we know that Allen is having just a tremendous season. He really has done all of this without a ton of help outside of James Cook. Like, it has been Josh Allen himself, and I think that's why he's probably going to win the MVP. But Lamar Jackson's going to have to go on the road in Orchard Park, and he's going to have to show that he's the better quarterback, and I believe that he's capable of doing that. Like, I think Lamar Jackson might be the scariest quarterback when it comes into the playoffs. He terrifies me, honestly. He terrifies me with how much he's developed as a passer, how precise he can be, and how deadly he is with his legs. And now you add Derrick Henry in the backfield. Like, I think both of those guys can really salt away this Bills defense. Like, I just think if you give Derrick Henry 25 plus carries and then you add in Lamar Jackson 5 to 10 read option runs, I just don't think this Bills defense can really hold up against Baltimore. And we know how great this Baltimore defense is. They've really done a great job of stepping up. They kind of concerned me at the beginning of the year, but Roquan Smith has played a lot better. Kyle Hamilton is up for Defensive Player of the Year. We know how great Marlon Humphrey is. This team has a lot of talent on the defensive side as well, and they don't get enough credit because of how great Lamar is and how great Derrick Henry's been this year. But that's really a bright spot of this team, and I think they have a lot to prove against Buffalo as well. That's going to be a tremendous matchup, Josh Allen against Lamar Jackson. That's why the NFL is just so awesome. And then if Lamar is able to pull that off, he's going to have a chance to get revenge against Mahomes. That is going to be a game that is going to be must-see TV. Patrick Mahomes chasing his 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. Maybe people are going to consider him the GOAT if he wins it. And then you're going to have Lamar Jackson looking for revenge after last season. All of the critics, all of the noise, all of the doubt. That's what Lamar Jackson's been dealing with, not only this past year after losing, it's been his entire career. Nobody ever wants to give Lamar Jackson any credit for any of the stuff that he's done, for winning 2 MVPs. It's like he only shows up in the regular season. It's time for him to show up in the playoffs. I would not be surprised if he goes on the road and knocks off the Chiefs. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on the road and knocks off the Bills. That's the route that he's going to have to take, and I think he is more than capable of doing it with Derrick Henry. As long as John Harbaugh and this team stays committed to running the football, which they kind of went away from in the second half in the AFC Championship, if they stay committed to running the football, I think Lamar Jackson can outplay Josh Allen, and I think he can outplay Patrick Mahomes and make it to the Super Bowl. And if they can make it to the Super Bowl, I think they are better than Detroit. I think they are better than Philadelphia. And I think this is Lamar Jackson's year to go out there and win the Super Bowl, use that motivation of not winning an MVP and prove everybody wrong, and finally get that monkey off his back that he can really win in the playoffs. And if he does that with 2 MVPs and with a Super Bowl MVP and Super Bowl ring at the crib, he's going to be revered as one of the greatest quarterbacks already in NFL history with that type of resume, as he's already the best rushing quarterback in NFL history. But do not sleep on this Ravens team. They're silent killers. They're going to be really deadly in the postseason, and I think they have a lot to prove heading into this year's playoffs. I'm Caden Kubler, and thanks for watching.